The first race of this weekend. We are ready to have some fun. We're ready to watch 15 cars battle it out for the race win. It's 25 minutes for this first race of the weekend here in the beautiful Slovakia ring, 5.9 kilometer track. It's a very difficult circuit for the drivers with fast corners and very technical sections such as sector 2. And there's a lot of people here on the grandstands watching, and what better way for them to have their hometown and local hero Miro Konopka starting from pole position. He's the only driver in a prototype car. He is in the Ligier LMP3 car, and he is ready to start from pole position on the right-hand side of the grid. And alongside of him, of course, Reinhard Hoffler for Austria and his KTM GTX car for Art TR Projects, the GTX leader from qualifying. Of course, many emotions in qualifying, many different classes, which of course result in different paces. But of course, we had so much fun in qualifying, and we're ready to see perhaps a few more battles here out on track. It's been a lovely first 2 weekends of the season, and here in Slovakia, you can see the beautiful sunshine. It's very hot, so the drivers will struggle quite a bit actually to keep their tires in the right temperature window. And of course, it will be very interesting to see who is able to generate more temperature, who is able to keep their tires alive for the longest period of time, and of course attack in the second half of the race. It's going to be 25 minutes of pure hard racing, nothing more, nothing less for this first race. Of course, we will have two races in this third weekend of the season. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes out on top. Will it be Miro Konopka starting for pole position, or will it be, for example, Reinhard in second place for the GTX category? Of course, having the GT3s starting right behind them, with the BMWs being very quick in practice, struggling a bit in qualifying, but we're expecting them to be as quick as possible in the race. We're actually almost ready to start. There's only a couple of minutes left here on the grid. We're going to make our way in just a few seconds to the booth to commentate this lovely race. We're ready here at the Slovakia ring. It's going to be very interesting to see who will come out on top, not only after the first turn, but of course after the opening 25 minutes of racing that will open this weekend, this beautiful weekend here at the Slovakia ring.
We are opening the 2023 season here in Germany. First of the 6 calendar events that are ready for us this year.
Oh, there's contact between Joachim Galáš and Libor Milotan.
There is the race leader, Filip Salaguarda. They are now going to be side by side across the line, but Galáš is prevailing. Joachim Galáš scores another victory.
His teammate does a slight touch in the first corner.
What a move that was.
And he's third, and there's a contact. Luckily, everybody else has managed to avoid that car. This is going to be a photo finish between the two Lambos. Who's first? It must be Denis Vašek. Unbelievable. This is a big crash, massive crash.
And here we are, ready to see the action unfold from the Slovakia ring, the 5.9 kilometer circuit, hosting the third round of the ESETCup. 15 cars are now almost completing the formation lap, which of course gives them the first opportunity to find out anything new about the track, perhaps the new weather conditions, the temperature being quite higher compared to qualifying that took place on Friday. And therefore it's going to be quite interesting to see how the cars will line up. We saw and talked about the first row of the grid with Miro Konopka on the left-hand side in his Ligier LMP3 prototype, with Reinhard Koffler in second place for the KTM GTX car of RTR Projects. The cars are now lining up 2 by 2 at the penultimate corner of the 5.9 kilometer track as we get ready to start things off for the first race of the ESETCup here at the Slovakia ring, round 3 of the season, with Miro Konopka in his Ligier starting from pole position alongside Reinhard Koffler, and behind them it's ARC Bratislava with Adam Konopka, the son of Miro, in third position alongside Antal Zigo. And we're away with a beautiful start from Reinhard Koffler, who is already taking first place over from the Ligier of Miro Konopka, as the drivers now slowly but surely make their way towards turn number 1, with Koffler keeping first position ahead of Konopka, with his son Adam now looking to make a move, but it's also the BMW of Antal Zigo moving into third, overtaking the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 of Adam Konopka, the hometown hero, dropping to fourth from third on the standing. So it's not the start that the Konopka family wanted, losing a place each, both father and son, at the expenses of Reinhard Koffler and Antal Zigo. And here you can see the lovely BMW M4 GT3 roaring away in third place. But now it's time for Miro Konopka to reel in the KTM of Reinhard Koffler. It's two dramatically and drastically different cars, with the Ligier of course being quicker in the corners, having the superior aerodynamic grip, whereas the KTM is much faster on the straights, which is where it makes up the time lost in especially the second sector. Now they come together towards turn number 10, with the Ligier attacking on the outside, not being able to get the move done. Of course, part of two different classes, but it's always nice to lead the overall standings, which is definitely the aim for Miro Konopka right now. Going up the hill, now down towards turn 13. But you can see how much quicker the KTM really is on the straights, but look how big the advantage is in the corners for the Ligier. It's truly incredible to watch the difference between the two drivers and the two cars especially, as now lap 2 starts with the KTM of Reinhard Koffler in first position. Behind them there's been an overtake, with Adam Konopka regaining third place ahead of Antal Zigo during the lap. We've seen the yellow ARC Bratislava car, of course teammate of father Miro Konopka, now watched by the cameras as he tries to move into the lead of the race down the inside into turn 3. His best bet is probably to go right around the outside, using the superior grip that the LMP3 car has over a GTX car such as the KTM number 789 of Reinhard Koffler. The Austrian, though, keeping his first place. He's definitely looking to win this one, as though now the LMP3 goes right around the outside, and you can see here how much different the grip is in the corners, as Konopka finally regains the lead after briefly losing it in the opening 3 minutes of the race. So it's Miro Konopka ahead of Reinhard Koffler, whereas in third place, as you can see from the graphics, is Antal Zigo right now, just ahead of Konopka Jr., but the two of them are continuously fighting So we will see who will come out on top. It looks like Konopka has overtaken his rival at the start of lap number 2. Whereas now you can see the leaders, and here they are, the Lamborghini and the BMW, with Konopka confirmation of his overtake from the images, as he's now into third. ARC Bratislava, of course, not only the home team, we're only half an hour away from the Slovakian capital, but they also have now quite a lot of experience in international racing, both GTs and prototypes, which is why they're fielding both types of cars here to gather some experience, and of course let the father and son duo of Miro and Adam Konopka race in the ESETCup. The two of them fighting for the championship this year, especially Adam Konopka in the GT3 class. Of course, the Ligier being part of the D5 class that is allowed to compete together with the ESETGT Cup throughout the 6 rounds of the season. And here you can see the beautiful Ligier pulling away into first place. Konopka doing a fantastic job so far, after, rightfully so, taking pole position with what is definitely the quickest car in the corners and one of the quickest on 1 lap pace alone. During lap 2, he just obliterated the fastest lap of the race so far, a 2-minute flat 0.4, 1.9 seconds quicker than Koffler, who is then 9 tenths quicker than the rest of the field. So definitely Konopka being the fastest driver right now, here watched by the cameras. Whereas behind him, the fight for third sees his son, Adam Konopka, and Žigo for third place. And here we are, the car number 100 with Bajek. He is with the Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, the only one in the GTC category, which is of course reserved to the Lamborghini Super Trofeo cars, with GT2 Motorsport and their lovely livery. You can see just how beautiful the car really is, with the aggressive tone, which is of course typical of a true Lamborghini. Of course, the engine roaring as Vajek takes the car towards yet another lap, lap number 4, with 18 minutes and 31 seconds remaining, and he is definitely honing in now on Rusli, the other driver racing in the D5 class with a prototype sort of car. It's the Praga R1, and it's definitely a very particular car. We have rarely seen it outside of Great Britain, which is usually where the Praga really shines. It has its own championship in the UK, but of course here in the ESETGT Cup, shining once more, as Tulusti is in 5th position right now. Whereas here we can see a nice fight between not only yet another KTM GTX car, but 2 Porsche Cup cars, part of the GTC1 category. It is Bau and Lachmer that are sandwiching the GTX car of Kukkola for Orlen Yannick Motorsport, the number 73 car in the white and bright red livery. Very similar colors to the GT2 Motorsport car, but of course a way darker red, and a beautiful, lovely Lamborghini Super Trofeo for the latter, the number 100 car, currently holding down 6th position overall. Whereas here we are fighting for the tail end of the top 10, especially with the GTX of Kukkola. Peta Kukkola, number 73 car, is definitely trying to rise to the occasion this year in the GTX category. Of course, if you're not familiar with the various categories, the GTX is basically a hybrid version of a GT3 car that does not, however, comply with the rules of a standard Grand Touring car, such as, for example, the Lamborghini GT3 that is in 3rd place, the BMW M4, of course, a very popular type of car. Just like the Lamborghini Super Trofeo that we are watching right now, of course. There is plenty of Super Trofeo championships around the world that have become hugely popular in the past few years. So it's lovely to see one of them racing here in the ESETCup with 60 minutes to go. It's still Miro Konopka in the lead with 6 seconds in front of Koffler. And here you can see once again Denis Vajek for GT2 Motorsport, who is definitely trying to reel in the Praga R1 car of TL Ultralight, driven by Alex Tlusty. You can see just how aggressive the Lamborghini can be under the braking. He's lapping slightly slower than the other GT3 cars, which is of course expected, seeing that the Super Trofeo is a slightly worse car compared to the GT3s, and in fact they are part of the two different categories, the Lamborghini Super Trofeo being considered a cup car, but of course quicker than the Porsche 992, which is the new model of the cup cars from the Stuttgart-based maker. The 992 replacing the now slightly older 991, which we can still see throughout Europe racing, and of course we can see it here as well with Kogelbauer Motorsport and Bob Bau currently in 9th position in the overall standings, and just 2 seconds in front of the KTM of Kukola that we were watching before. Here you can see the Lamborghini Super Trofeo of Vajek putting Tlusty under big pressure. This is the fight for 5th position in the overall standings. Tlusty is 2nd in the D5 class. Vajek is 1st in the GTC class, which is reserved to the quicker cup cars. As we watch the standings closely, we can also see the GT3 car of Adam Konopka and the other GT3 rival of Gigo fighting for 3rd position, the two of them being separated by just 2 seconds on the line at the start of lap 6. It will definitely be very interesting to see who will come out on top between the two of them. They have been the ones to watch in the GT3 category, which is, if you want to put it that way, the leading class, the most commonly thought class to be believed as the reigning class in this championship. Although of course Koffler in his GTX car is so far putting on a show with almost a 10-second advantage over Adam Konopka, who was able, especially in the first round in Balaton Park, to show just how quick he can be, winning race 2 before taking his 2nd win in a row at the Red Bull Ring. Gigo came to the championship exactly during the Austrian round, winning race 2 and finishing 2nd in race 1, which of course then saw him drop the 2nd position standings, only taking into account the best results out of the 2 races of the weekend. Whereas here right now the number 100 car of Vajek pulls to the inside, finally pulls the trigger. He looks to be locked and loaded, doesn't he, Vajek? Now up into 5th position, Tlusty going down to 6th, but of course the main objective for both of them is to try and stay as positive as possible in the car, try to stay on track, not make any mistakes. And here you can see same difference that we saw between the LMP3 car and the GT3, with of course the Praga being quicker in the corners, but the Lamborghini Super Trofeo being miles ahead on the straights, which is why the number 100 car looks to be quicker on a track where straight lane speed is this important. Of course, Sector 1 and Sector 3 are basically all straight lane speed dependent, whereas the 2nd sector, of course, is very tight, as you can see, and the Praga isn't losing any ground throughout the 2nd sector, and it's actually gaining back up quite a bit. But of course, that's provided by the Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, not helping Plasti close things up. We're already into the second half of the race with 11 minutes and 4 seconds to go, and here you can see for the first time up close the BMW GT3 car, of, in this case it's Aral Gigo. Of course, the second position in the GT3 category so far in this race. He sits in third in the driver standings, 12.5 points behind Adam Konopka, who however is looking to extend his his championship lead with this race. Though the BMW is only around 4 seconds behind, it is still losing around a second a lap so far. And so Gigo struggling to keep up with Alan Konopka, whose father Miro is now watched by the cameras in first position, a 14.3 second gap between him and Koffler. He was the only one able to dip under the 2-minute mark. The 158.9 was the fastest lap from Miro Konopka, whereas the latest lap time set by the Slovakian driver was a 1 minute 59.3, still 2.7 seconds quicker than Koffler. You can just see how quicker the LMP3 car truly is compared to a GT3. And this is definitely a great testing ground for Miro Konopka and ARC Bratislava for the LMP3 class, a team that races this car in Europe, and they know how to make it go quick, as they are showing here brilliantly, with Miro Konopka being the class of the field as expected. And here is the KTM car. Unfortunately, the other KTM that we have not seen so far was unable to start, but it was a phenomenal display so far, and especially in qualifying for Koffler. No one really expected him being this quick, but he was able to dip in the 1 minute 58 in qualifying, and 158.5 to be exact, to finish in second, almost 2.5 seconds quicker than the second row, which was dominated by this guy right here, Alan Konopka, the ARC Bratislava driver and hometown hero. We saw and heard during our grip walk the many fans roaring in support and coming to support their drivers, especially the one from Slovakia, being this close to the capital of the nation. You briefly saw also the BMW. They needed to dispatch one of the lapped cars. Of course, multi-class racing has these lapping phases which are ever so crucial for the drivers to get right, especially when the track is very busy, because otherwise it would be an opportunity for disaster for both cars involved. Thankfully that wasn't the case, with Antal Gigo staying in fourth, still hunting Adam Konopka, but looks like the driver from Slovakia, the hometown hero, is holding on to third position, as his father Miro keeps on building his gap into first place. And here is the lovely BMW, and for a rather new model that has come to the GT3 scene in the last couple of years, it's a car that has been developed masterfully by the BMW crew. Of course, it was just announced that the second generation BMW M4 GT3 car would come from the next season, from 2025, in every major GT3 championship. The Evo car, which is a trend that we've seen so far with basically every single GT3 brand, be it Audi, McLaren, Lamborghini as well. So it's definitely nice to see how the German manufacturer is definitely looking to expand and looking to provide even more cars as performant with as high of a performance as the BMW M4 that is currently fighting for championships all over the world, especially here in the ESETCup. As we start lap number 10, and we go now with the number 100 car of Denis Vajek, the Czech driver, who looks to be quite confident out there here in the Slovakia ring. You know, talking to the drivers, they say how tough this racetrack is because it's very long. It has a lot of corners that are very tough to take well, especially in the second sector, where you see the most technical part of the track come to life. And it is very difficult to put a lap together because, of course, it is way tougher for drivers to put together a lap with so many corners and with almost 6 kilometers to do on a single flyer. It is, of course, quite tough for them to bring the best out of the car and out of themselves every single time, which is a challenge, however, the drivers love. And that's why they race here in the ESETCup and on tracks like the Slovakia ring. It's 5 minutes to go exactly now, with Miro Konopka still holding on to first place. Now the gap has increased to 21 seconds over Reinhard Koffler, the Austrian from RTR Project, the Czech team, the number 789 car, which is definitely trying to still gain some time over the GT3 rivals, just showing you how quick a GTX car can be. The same thing goes for Denis Vajek, here watched by the cameras, the number 100 car, currently in 5th, and of course being one of the quickest so far out on track. The last lap was a 2 minute 4 seconds 0.3, 2/10 quicker than the top GT cars, with Koffler, Konopka and Gigo lapping in the mid 2 minute and 4 seconds. Whereas here you can see a battle between two of the Porsche Cup cars, and it's Bau and Lachmer, with Peter Kukola behind in the GTX car. And slowly but surely there's also the number 440 car of Rade Kolarik, the Czech, closing in on the fight for 9th position between Bau and Lachmer. Lachmer now taking the slipstream of his fellow Porsche driver, who goes all the way to the left. You can see just how wide this start-finish straight really is, with Bau now fighting half a 9th, keeping the position. Nothing that Lachmer could have done there, but he's definitely looking to put the other Porsche 992 Cup car under pressure, whereas the Orlen Yannick Motorsport car of Peter Kukola is looking for a gap in the fight with his KTM. Red and white, and definitely trying to at least unsettle the two cars in front, to maybe force them into a mistake, which is something that we've seen so many times in the world of motorsport. The art of putting the pressure on and just letting your rival know that you're there, ready to pounce. The stakes are high. And here you can see Bau bunching the two of them together, of course. The Austrian is definitely trying to somehow bunch his rival together with Kukola, as Franz Lachmer, his compatriot, is now stuck between the two, and now he's looking for a gap on the inside of turn 11. Fortunately for him, not working out. And here you can see how Bau is then able to unleash the power of his Porsche 992 car and make the inroads that he needs to keep 9th, but it will be very tough once we round out the final corner for him to keep Lambert behind, because the latter is so close this time around to the back end of the Porsche 992 Cup car of Bob Bau, the Kogelbauer car, two Kogelbauer teammates actually fighting hard, with now Lambert doing the over and under and getting through to P9. Definitely what the Austrian wanted, but of course his teammate is not going to stand by and watch with only 45 seconds left on the clock. He's going to try and get the move done towards turn 3, which however will not happen, and instead it's the GTX car of Yannick Motorsport trying to make the move stick for 10th position. Fortunately though, Petra Kukola not able to get through, and now they have been almost caught by the race leader Miro Konopka, who has started the final lap of the race. It wasn't an easy start for Konopka, it needs to be said. He was overtaken at the start by Koffler and struggled in the first lap to keep up with them, especially on the straights. But then once he got the car dialed in, once the tires were up to temperature, he had absolutely nothing to worry about. Got into the lead and then built a 30-second gap over Reinhard Koffler, now lapping one of the GT4 cars, which unfortunately we haven't seen much of, but don't worry about that, because we're going to have yet another race for the ESETCup Cup, which is scheduled to take place tomorrow. And of course, as the final race of Saturday, we have the 1-hour endurance race, which will see driver swaps, longer strategies, longer racing, and therefore more fun. As now Konopka is getting close to the finish line. He's going to probably hold off here towards the final corners. He doesn't want any trouble. In fact, he lifts off so the 3 cars in front of him can have one more lap. But Miro Konopka crosses the line to win the opening race of the ESETCup Cup here in Slovakia ring. Wonderful performance for the hometown hero who wins on home soil, as the crowd goes crazy and Konopka can finally start cheering as he's won his home event in the Ligier LMP3 car. It's second position for Reinhard Koffler, who briefly led the race. Of course, nothing that he could have done in order to keep second position. And third will be Miro's son, Adam Konopka, who will join his father on the podium, on the overall podium, in third position. And of course, the 3 drivers who finished on the podium are also the winners of their respective category. Miro Konopka wins the D5 class. Koffler is triumphant in the GTX class, whereas the GT3 category is won by Adam Konopka. Fantastic race then for the 2 Slovakian drivers, father and son, taking a double win in their respective categories, and of course a double overall podium here at the Slovakia ring. It was a very intense race for everyone, which is why we are so excited to be back for more tomorrow on Sunday, with the ESETCup Cup ready to start at 14:35 local time for the second race of the weekend. But now it's Konopka who can rejoice and enjoy the win. As he takes home the full points, and here you can see the lovely highlights rolling on with Miro Konopka, who lost the lead actually into turn 1, with Koffler staying in front. But then a lovely move from Konopka saw the LMP3 car climb to first place, and here is the GT3 fight and the GTC winner of Denis Vajek with the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Lovely fight between the 2 Porsche Cup cars and teammates of Kogelbauer Motorsport, which saw Franz Lambert finish in front of Bob Bau, but in the end it was Miro Konopka who took home the race win here in the overall standings at the Slovakia ring for the third round of the ESETCup Cup. And that's everything from us right now. We will see you tomorrow for the second race at 14:35 local time.